You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
Well. Just when I thought Big 12 people had moved on from being the scorn, lover, stalker, emasculated conference of Oklahoma and Texas, you get a couple of Big 12 hard-ons in here talking smack about Oklahoma actually might want to come back to the Big 12 by 2030. Let's talk about it. Of Locked On Left Behind Conference, the LBC, is brought to you by Bosch and Lom. For all you do, this half-cocked Baylor gremlin face douche nozzle is for you. Now, before we get to all that and start the grilling session today, let's go ahead and call them on in. The Outlaw Posse is now in effect, and today's four horsemen shout-outs go to Austin Stokes, James, Enough is Enough, and Trucking with Cliff are mounted up and saddled up and ready to go. And they're going to help us with today's college football invasion. As you can see, this video here comes from Locked On Left Behind Conference with Drake, Jackass, and Cam, I'm More of a Jackass, with his little Baylor gremlin hat on. And they're sitting here talking about how, can't get over his face, man. His face was stuck like that for a while too, brothers and sisters. They're in here talking about Oklahoma going back to the Big 12, and they don't do it in a very professional manner either. This is like coming in and they're taking some little backhanded swipes, trying to act like they're serious, but you can tell there's still some emasculation going on with these guys at Locked On Left Behind Conference. So I'm going to let y'all listen to a little bit of it, and I'm going to interject myself from time to time because that's what I'm good at doing, is interjecting and grilling the hell out of people that deserve to be grilled.
Together when Baylor beat Oklahoma on the road. Goodbye. See ya. Smell you out of the Big 12. And already, murmurs of OU coming back, baby. Being here in the Big 12 because they just couldn't handle the SEC. This is a report that John Kurtz picked up on originally. And
I used to have a lot of respect for John Kurtz, and he's still a pretty good guy. He's got some connections that keep him relevant and people want to listen to him. But John's becoming a big old farce, John Kurtz, that is. I like John, but man, John, the emasculation that you Big 12 stalkers are showing is bleeding through quite profusely.
It came from a report from Dan Wetzel of Yahoo Sports, who said on a podcast, like,
another jackass.
Hey, Oklahoma could go to the playoff every year in the Big 12 or be a bottom feeder in the SEC. They chose rich bottom feeder. They were a disaster this last season under Brent Venable. They're going to keep him at the helm probably for a long time. Scott Frost situation, native son situation, and it's
stop you there again. Once again, you're not doing your research. And the guy over here with a half-cocked grin looks like he's about to stroke out the Baylor gremlin. That's what I'm going to call him. He don't know no better either because he's just going along with it. Brent Venables is not a native son. While Brent Venables did go to Oklahoma and he was the defensive coordinator before he left for Clemson, Brent Venables is not a native son. Just to educate you on what native son means, it means that Brent Venables is either A, born in Oklahoma, or B, he went to Oklahoma as a player. I don't think he did either. Not sure where he's from, but I know for a fact that Brent Venables played for Kansas State. So there's your education, Drake. Write that shit down, boy.
Not going to pan out in the conference. If you're OU, you've now learned, oh, shoot, we sacrificed winning.
Oh, shoot. Couldn't say that cuss word.
For money, and thus will probably actually make maybe around the same amount of money. It would be really funny if in 10 years they pull a Colorado. Even if in 2030 they pull a Colorado and be like, you know what? Hand up. We weren't ready for this. Because honestly,
go back to something they said about they're actually making just as much money as they were at the Big 12. That's another lie that Mr. Blinky Eye here he's got his eyes closed and he's praying for his stalker moment, which is coming later. Little Baylor Gremlin, he's going to get his moment in the sunshine in just a second.
They're not. Their fan base knows it now. They're not ready for the SEC.
Yeah, and what's funny is like looking.
They've only been in the SEC for 1 year, moron. Now next year they'll probably have it rough again. But Baylor and any number of teams in the Big 12 that got left behind in the left behind conference, as I call it, didn't have to deal with what Oklahoma had to deal with. Neither did Texas, who went into the SEC and was pretty successful. Had Oklahoma not had to deal with the kind of stuff that they had to deal with coming in with the whole Lincoln Riley fiasco and tampering with the Oklahoma roster while he was still there, if Texas had to deal with that, Texas would have probably been in the same situation that Oklahoma's in. Teams like Baylor and Texas Tech and teams like that, mid-Carters for life, they probably would have sunk back down to the depths that they're used to, being 2-10 every year.
Back on when they first made the announcement, we thought it was going to be the other team that wouldn't be ready, right? UT. But also in that same thought, I think a lot of us were thinking at that same time, I should say, a lot of us were thinking like, yeah, but if you stay here, like you're going to the college football playoff all the time. And that's the main revenue that you can accomplish, right? Like the accomplishable revenue is making the college football playoff. And there was already murmurs then about
that's the only accomplishable revenue. Really? Selling out your games, selling out home games, going on the road where there's sellouts. Whereas if you go to Waco, you're not guaranteed this is going to be half the stadium's going to be full. Kansas, where half the stadium's not full. Really, that's the only revenue you get. And you realize what y'all are saying here, Locked On, Left Behind Conference. What you're saying here is if Oklahoma was still in the conference, that they would be dominating y'all. I thought y'all wanted to step out of the big shadow of Oklahoma and Texas. You know, 1 minute you're saying you want to step out and you don't need Oklahoma and Texas. Next minute you're like you want them back in there because it makes your conference relevant. You're admitting to it. You're admitting that Oklahoma and Texas were the only real good thing y'all had going.
Expansion of the playoff too, and they were making it every year with the 4 teams. Like it's like, really, is this going to benefit you that much? And the fans were pounding their chest like, yeah, SEC. It's like, what do you care? Like, you know what I mean? Because the school's making more money. Like, and you're not going to have as many 11 a.m. games. Shocker, you had a lot of 11 a.m. games because you suck now. And let's not forget the last 2 years that they had in the Big 12.
Let me tell you something, son. If Baylor had went to the SEC, they might not even put you on 11 a.m. Y'all might have just been radio games. That's how bad y'all would have sucked.
Bad to mediocre and kind of okay in 23. So it's not it's not going to happen, but I don't think it's as crazy as some people make it out to be, right? Like one thing that they didn't talk about, that Kurtz didn't talk about, which I think is also in here, it's like we all know we're headed towards super conferences here. Like we know we're heading towards that within the next, 5 to 10 years.
According to the Monty show tomorrow.
Yes. Monty's got a big report tomorrow as well about the next.
Well, I'm not a big fan of the Monty show. I have had my head cocked to the left. This dude's head's been cocked to the left the whole time. The whole time. I mean, I don't say a dude don't have a crick in his neck. And maybe that's a symbol. Maybe that's a ironic symbol. The guy's head's cocked to the left from my picture. Maybe it's to the right with his camera. I don't know. But he's way left all the time.
Next week, it's all going to start to unfold. But if that's the case, then it's like if you came back to the Big 12, you're going into a super conference anyway, right? Like might as well just keep your brand going. Like it's the same thing with Oregon and Washington. Like Oregon's brand was not going to be was not going to go down because they were in the Pac-12 still and USC wasn't. Like it wasn't going to do that. Oklahoma's the same way. If they went into the Big 12 again tomorrow and UT's not in there, that's not hurting Oklahoma's brand because they're going to be in the top 5.
Hold on. If Oregon's brand wasn't going to go down if they stayed in the Pac-12, then why didn't they stay in the Pac-12? While USC hasn't been really as strong the past 15 to 20 years, they were still the name brand in that conference. Even though Oregon was climbing, Oregon left the Pac-12 because they knew that their brand would not be able to hold up the Pac-12. If that was the case, they would have stayed.
And they're Oklahoma, right? So yeah, they're going to end up congrats guys. You're making some money here. You're making money by going 6-7, or you could come back here and win 11 games every year and go to the playoff.
Once again, you just crapped on your own conference and your own little Baylor Bears by saying that. In other words, you're saying that the Big 12 is a lot easier, which it is. But, normally y'all won't admit to that shit. And you're saying that they would win 11 or 12 games every year in the Big 12 because y'all want to say Oklahoma sucks? Y'all must suck. I mean, what would happen if Baylor were in the Big 12? Or not the Big 12, but the SEC.
And that's not trying to knock the Big 12, but that's what they were doing all the 2010s and early 20s.
But you did. You just knocked your own conference in your haste and desire and your little schoolgirl panty-wetting emasculation. You crapped on your own conference.
So,
and it didn't work necessarily. It hasn't yet under Brent Venable. And so I'm not sure if coming back, Venables? Is it plural?
Venables, yeah, it's plural.
Multiple. Yeah. I'm thinking of Ben Venable.
Yeah, multiple losing seasons. Yeah.
And if y'all had been in the SEC, y'all wouldn't even been in a conversation of a winning season. At least Oklahoma was 6-7, and they went to a bowl. Baylor would have went 2-10.
I have
shout out Ben Venable though.
I have no confidence that Oklahoma could walk back in and win every game. I do have confidence they would have a better shot in the Big 12, maybe with a different head coach.
Easier to turn it around for sure.
But can we all understand what I need you, Jim from Ada, to understand in this conversation?
Here we go.
Yes, Oklahoma makes more money, and they are
from Ada,
and they're in the
Jim from Ada. That's so funny. Y'all act like y'all some kind of stand-up comedians in here, man. Like y'all so damn funny, man. Like y'all Eddie Murphy Raw. I know y'all a little probably too young. Some of y'all don't know who that is or what that is, but look it up. You got YouTube now. Look up Eddie Murphy Raw. That's real comedy. Pretty funny. A little vulgar, a little profane, but still real comedy.
SEC right now. Jared from Ardmore. From
what's the hell so funny about cities in Oklahoma? You're from Waco, man. Waco. The only thing famous about Waco, and yeah, y'all won a basketball title a few years back, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. Why y'all won't be winning another one of those for quite some time. The only thing y'all are really famous for, man, over an extended period of time in history is David Koresh, a lunatic religious jackass.
Jinx from Bixby. Your
Cade from Bixby.
Your fan experience is so much worse.
Travis
because your team is in the SEC right now. We've avoided Sallisaw, Tulsa, especially Oklahoma City.
I mean, his face is turning red. He's laughing so hard. What's so funny, man? And when he reveals in just a second, Mr. Blondie Crookneck over here to the left, what he exposes here in just a second is really, 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 really hypocritical.
City don't
Lawton.
Yeah. Your team is so much worse now because you wanted them to make more money. And may I remind you, Jared, that in the last 365 days that those Sooners go, that's the Gators. What's the
This dude, I don't know how Locked On goes around hiring people. These people don't have any education on history of the game of college football. How you going to confuse the Florida Gators fight song with Oklahoma? It don't sound anything alike, man. That'd be like confusing banana with orange.
Oklahoma one is the
y'all two guys not realize how spastic y'all are? Y'all not realize how cringy y'all are? Really? You gonna make fun of Oklahoma's fight song? Nobody even knows Baylor's fight song. Nobody that knows Baylor's fight song outside of Waco. What's Baylor's fight song? Do y'all even have a fight song? Do y'all even have a band? I don't know, man. I've never really watched a game from Waco because y'all have never been relevant enough really to televise maybe more than 5 or 6 games from Waco that really mattered.
Hey, I remind you.
Get ready to have that in your head.
You just got a second mortgage. So
it's 2nd and 7. I can hear it.
Oklahoma, their money that they've made has not helped the car that just got foreclosed that was sitting in your driveway.
Your analogies are shit. Stick to just talking about sports, man. Quit the analogy shit. You ain't good at it.
That dog and Beth, I think one of them died, maybe Beth. The dog and Beth just repoed.
Rubbing his face and stuff. That Baylor gremlin, man, he looks like he's about to spaz. I think he might be about to shoot a load, man, in his pants. I'll be honest with you.
You didn't see that money, and your trade-off was cool. Mike's school makes more money. I don't, and I get to watch them lose every single weekend.
And
once again, they've only been in the SEC for 1 year. You spastic.
they're playing Missouri this weekend. South Carolina.
Lose.
Missouri and South Carolina are better than Baylor. They're both better than Baylor overall in history, you crackhead.
To Missouri this weekend, might I add. That is
dude with his left head cocked still. His head's still cocked. Over there drinking Miller Lite.
And look, I am not mad at Oklahoma fans. I get it, you know.
Yes, you are. Quit lying, man. At least keep it truthful a little bit.
If Baylor had the opportunity to go to the SEC, probably looking at both sides. It's like, oh, great opportunity, a lot of money, but also might get your butt kicked consistently, perennially. I grew up an Arkansas fan.
So let me get this straight. This guy's his eyes are going back and forth. Like, yeah, we would get our ass kicked at. Why are you talking shit about Oklahoma and Texas when you know that your little piddly ass probably win more than 2 or 3 games a year? But this guy Drake just told on himself. As you did, y'all have y'all heard? He just said that he's an Arkansas guy.
Oklahoma is the new Arkansas. Every 7 years, you win 9 or 10 games, and you think that's generational. Then your head coach crashes a motorcycle with his mistress on it, and we're back to being bad. And then you hire the guy.
Which Arkansas should be a team that should have been in the Big 12, by the way.
Yeah, but in the same way that Oklahoma could be the Clemson or Florida State of what the Big 12 is, what Texas and Oklahoma both were. And
so I'm going to stop them right there. Right there is where I'm going to stop them. Because they can't go on to say a bunch of more dribble, basically dribbling all over themselves about Oklahoma coming back to the Big 12 and yada, yada, yada. But this guy's from Arkansas. How you going to get on here and talk crap about Oklahoma sucking in the SEC? They've only been here 1 year, and they've already beat Alabama, something that Arkansas hasn't done in, 17 years? Arkansas hasn't beat Alabama in 17 years, man. Oklahoma comes in the conference and beats Alabama the first year they're in. And they beat Auburn on the road. It's a hard place to win. And they had tons and tons and tons and tons of injuries. Not making excuses for Oklahoma because I'm an Alabama guy, so don't try to say I'm being a homer. But Arkansas, really? Y'all going to come in here and talk smack? Arkansas joined the conference in 1992, right? So that's what? Over 30 years without winning the SEC title? And you're going to talk about Oklahoma and Texas? And Texas actually went to the SEC title game in their first year, I'm not a big Texas fan, and neither are the Oklahoma contingent in here watching this video tonight or today. And y'all going to talk smack? Arkansas? Really? Y'all need to check yourself, man. This stalker emasculation is just not a good look, man. And the whole giddiness and the continued laughing about, nervous laughter about talking about Jim from Ada like they're backwoods rednecks or something, and you're from Arkansas and you're from Baylor. Y'all from the South too, man. Cut that shit out, man. I just thought y'all were over it, man. I thought y'all had moved on. So here's what you need to do, Big 12. Make your mind up. Do you want Oklahoma and Texas back? Because maybe if you beg them enough, maybe they will come back. If you pray enough, and as Hulk Hogan used to say, you eat your vitamins, drink your milk, say your prayers, all that good stuff, man. Maybe, just maybe, Oklahoma and Texas will come back one day, but it's very seriously doubtful. And don't get all giddy about Oklahoma going 6-7 their first year. It's just 1 year, man. Missouri went to the SEC title game back-to-back years. Just saying. It's just not a good look, and y'all need to move on. And that's all I got to say about that. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. It's the Big Four, and they're all absolutely free. Or you can join, if you want to do a little something extra, you want to join the Outlaw Posse, you want to get your badge and get deputized and get your random Four Horsemen shout-out like those guys did earlier in the show, and even possibly be the comment of the day when we have a good one to put up. All you got to do is hit that join button over by the subscribe button. It's $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. That's just a half a bottle of water for the Outlaw. KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.